parcel arrived at my house on a dreary Wednesday morning. It was small enough to fit into the letterbox, so the postman left it with a number of letters, mostly adverts and bills. I was glad that he left it, because I hate going down to the main post office, line up and wait, particularly if I don't know what I'm waiting for. I did not expect this parcel. I came home early. Wednesdays are a short day for me when I leave school at 11:30. This is my last year at school. I'm about to retire. About time, as some of my students would say. But anyway, back to that Wednesday. The parcel was not really a parcel, but I'm not sure what to call it. It was not even an envelope. It was something wrapped up in a sheet of white paper. I did not recognize the writing nor the name, which was barely legible. I called my wife to see if she could make it out, but that did not bring us any further. When I undid the sticky back plastic, I noticed that the wrapping was some kind of engineering drawing, and I almost found that more intriguing than the paperback book that I suddenly held in my hands. A purple cover. Who picks a purple cover for a book? An English title, a name that meant nothing. Who sent me this? It was my wife's sudden call that made me look up. This is from Abu Dhabi. She held out the white sheet, pointing at the stamp. Who do you know in Abu Dhabi? I shook my head. What is it? She peeped over my shoulder. Is there a letter? I flicked through the pages until I found a typed note. For a moment I read in silence till the white smile on my face made her poke me in the side. What is it? Aren't you going to tell me? I read the letter in full and read it again, ignoring her. The smile was still there, and yet I had to wipe away a tear or two. This was more than unexpected. I passed the letter to my wife and opened the book to its first page. My wife was still reading as I moved to my favorite seat in the lounge, close to the open fireplace, where I can sit and watch the birds on the balcony. I pulled my feet up, nestled into my old man cardigan, and read on. I managed the first 3 pages before my wife followed me, the letter in her hand. Do you remember her? Her voice as low as a whisper. I had to think for a moment. I think I do. The last time I saw her must have been, let me think, at a reunion party she organized after 5 years of leaving, so that must have been, 1991? That's a long time ago. It certainly is. I think by that time she had left home, went somewhere abroad. London, maybe? Did she always write? I thought back to the class of 1986, but struggled to recall faces. In the end, I stood up, fingered through the untidy pile of old magazines. The earliest ones were still old-fashioned copies, and the smell of toner still lingered. Some of the purple pages were so faded that I hardly could read them. The memories came flooding back when I read the names. Faces, moments in time long lost and now refound. 1986. A young girl with promise but no direction. She was the only one who did not know what she wanted to do for the rest of her life. No ambition to study, no work lined up. Did she not get engaged and did some secretarial course? Was that what took her abroad? I could not remember. 1986. More than a generation ago. She was middling, even in the subjects she chose to major in. Nothing impressive, but still. Her arrival late into the class, maybe 4 years earlier, had changed the dynamics. Those on the verge of the group flocked to her. She was a calming pole that stood out from the rest. A big-boned, sporty, jolly, and yet very serious girl. I cannot remember even gossip about any boys. Oh yes. And was she not part of that class we took to Berlin? Yes, now I remember. Her and her best friend. They took off one evening on their own because they did not like the noise of the others. They chose to go to the theatre. I had to sign their permission slip, but with these two, I gladly did that because I knew there would be no problems. It's all coming back now. The last time I saw her. Yes, the 5-year reunion. Still a young girl with promise but no direction. And now, so many years later, she sends me her first published novel and thanks me, for all I taught her. She's right. Teachers are too often forgotten. I smile and wipe away a tear before I find pen and paper. A present like this deserves a thank you note in return. My mother, a retired teacher, always complained that the teacher never sees their finished product. Too rarely do pupils return and tell about their successes that the teachers were somewhat involved with, as they shaped and formed unruly teenagers into well-behaved citizens. So when I published my first novel, New Life Cottage, I sent a copy to my old German teacher. I wanted him to know that even though I had arrived late to his class, having moved from another school, I had listened and remembered some of his classes well enough to have turned from a young girl with no direction to someone who chose to write novels. This story I wrote from his point of view, wondering what he remembered of me and how he would react. And yes, I did get a thank you letter.